Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Toxins here, back with another Call of Duty mobile video. Now today what we're going to be looking at is sensitivity. Now I know this is a very widely debated topic, and most people just don't really know what the best sensitivity is and if there even is a best sensitivity. So today what we're going to be doing is kind of going over some technical aspects, and I'll try to simplify it as much as possible, some visuals and stuff. So basically what we're going to be doing today is looking at some PUBG and CSGO professionals' sensitivities in other games and seeing how we can use that information to create the best sensitivity possible in Call of Duty Mobile. So there's quite a few things that actually go into this, but I'll explain it as best I can. I think you guys will really understand it, and by the end of the video you'll have a really good grasp on how to make the best sensitivity. And then also, if you don't want to actually make the sensitivity, I'll just straight up tell you some good ones. So yeah, let's get into this. So on my journey to actually fully understand sensitivity and create the best sensitivity for Call of Duty Mobile, what I did is I went to CSGO, where there's some of the best aimers in the world, and I decided to just take a look at how their sensitivities are kind of set up. So I actually found this amazing spreadsheet that lists a ton of CSGO players and their sensitivities, as well as their centimeters per 360 degrees. And basically what centimeters per 360 degrees is how many centimeters you move your mouse to turn 360 degrees in game. So a full turn, how much do you move your mouse to actually do that? That was actually really surprising. Almost all of the really good CSGO players, like the pros that you guys might know if you watch CSGO, like Tarek, Shroud when he played, Simple, like a lot of these guys, Kenny S, tons of them. Dude, a ton of CSGO players are basically in the exact same range of how many centimeters they move their mouse to do a full 360 degree turn. So the first CSGO pro is Tarek with 47.2 centimeters, and then Kenny S and Device both have 47.2 as well. Stewie2K is 49.9, and then Shroud is 52 centimeters. So basically all those guys were within 47 to 52 centimeters, so that's about a 5 centimeter difference, which really isn't that much. And to give you guys an idea of how much 47 to 50 centimeters actually is, I have a mouse pad that I got from Cloud9 when I was on Cloud9, and it is 45 centimeters long. So their sensitivity to go 360 degrees basically is one side of the mouse pad to the other side of the mouse pad, almost exactly. Like, it's a little bit more, but basically that much. So what I learned from that is that CSGO players, their goal is to have pretty much a full 360 degree turn on their mouse pad from left to right side, just on average, just kind of an estimate. Another way to think about this is that if their mouse is in the center of the mouse pad, which most of the time CSGO pros keep their mouse in the center of the mouse pad, if they need to do a quick 180 degree turn, they can do it by either going all the way to the left or all the way to the right. If you look on the screen, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. They're always able to do a 180 degree turn either to the left or right because their mouse pad is big enough. As you know, if you're playing on a phone and holding it, or if you're playing even on an iPad and kind of holding it, you can't really reach from one side of the device to the other. Obviously, you're going to be having about half the screen used for your actual aiming, and then the other half is used for your joystick to move around, and then maybe buttons, and then your map and stuff like that. But generally, you have one side of your screen for actually aiming. So the problem is, if you have your sensitivity too low, you won't be able to turn, and Call of Duty is a game where you have to be ready to turn and react to certain situations very quickly. So 180 degrees is almost the perfect amount of turn that you want, because then if someone's shooting behind you, you can just go ahead and do a 180 and you can shoot them and you're good. Anything more than that, then you start to lose a lot of aiming ability and a lot of accuracy, because if your sensitivity is too high, it's going to be a lot harder to aim. And again, if it's too low, it's going to be harder to react. So finding the perfect balance is important, and I'm going to go ahead and help you guys with that. Okay, so my method for finding the best standard sensitivity. Now, if you guys are wondering what standard sensitivity is, if you go to settings and then sensitivity, you're going to see standard, and basically that just affects any time you're not scoped in, that will be your sensitivity. What you want to do is, number one, turn off aim acceleration. You can use that if you want to. Obviously, you have the option, but I highly recommend not using that. All the best aimers do not have acceleration because it makes your aim inconsistent. What you want to do is have no accel, so you always know if I move my finger this much, in game I will move or aim this much. Very important to do this. Again, you don't have to if you don't want to, but it's going to make everything else much easier, and I highly recommend no aim acceleration. If you're playing on like an iPhone 5 or something, you can do it. I don't know. Again, highly recommend not doing it though. Alright, so this is how you find your look sensitivity. This is the way that I found to work best, and it also works for other people as well. What you want to do is go ahead and load into a Call of Duty game. You can go in any game, doesn't really matter. Just make sure you're in some multiplayer game. Then what you want to do is you want to swipe your finger as shown in the video. I'll kind of show you a demonstration, and you want to do a 180 degree turn. So if you're swiping your finger and you're doing way less than 180 degrees, go ahead and bump up your sensitivity. If you're doing a swipe and you're going way over 180 degree turn, go ahead and bump your sensitivity down. So what you want to do is get it to the point where you can like flick your finger and you're almost very consistently getting 180 degree turns, because you want it to be comfortable to do 180. You don't want to like reach your finger really far. You want to just be able to very comfortably swipe your finger and turn 180 degrees. What I would recommend is when you get to a point where you feel comfortable with that, then you're good with your look sensitivity. Obviously, you can adjust it in the future if you feel like it's too low or too high, but I recommend not playing with it too much, because you want to kind of build up muscle memory with it, and just the more you play, the more comfortable you get and the more accurate you become. If you're wondering what the action looks like with your aiming finger, which mine is the thumb, basically it just goes from your thumb being fully extended to curled in. So there should be a little video kind of showing you what that looks like. But yeah, just repeat that motion until you can really get it to where you're doing a smooth 180 degree and it's very easy. You're getting really close. Obviously, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you're getting right around 180 degree turns. Now make sure to do this for the other direction as well. If you can do a 180 degree turn to the left, make sure you can also do it to the right, because you're not always going to be turning to the left. So you want to make sure you're able to do it both ways. All right, and there you go. You got your look sensitivity. Again, that part was very easy. Just kind of comes down to muscle memory and what you prefer. I will show you some really good numbers. If you guys want to kind of see those, it'll be later in the video. But for you, what you want to do is just make sure you're comfortable with that. So if you guys are wondering how I got these next calculations, basically in PUBG, you can actually customize each scope. So you can customize your 2x, your 4x, your 6x, your 8x. You can customize your scope's sensitivities. So PUBG pros actually keep their sensitivities the exact same across every single scope. Now you'd think, well, that's kind of weird. Shouldn't an 8x scope be a little lower sensitivity? And actually, it is. It is a lower sensitivity by default, and I know exactly how that works, and I'll explain it very soon. But in the game, they basically just set their sensitivity all the same. They're 2, 4, 6, 8x. They all have it to the exact same number. Now, if you guys are wondering, one of the pros I'm actually talking about is Abiza. And if you want to just go ahead and see a clip, I'll go ahead and show you guys it real quick. And this is why we're talking about him, because this guy's crazy and he is doing exactly what I'm explaining. So yeah, here's a clip. But yeah, anyway, so this is actually very consistent with almost every PUBG Pro, is they have almost all their scopes exactly the same. If they don't have them exactly the same, they're a little different, but it's not that different. Now, the reason they do this is because the game automatically will customize the scopes to make them feel as comfortable as possible. Now, the way that they do this is very simple, and I'll go ahead and show you guys. So basically what the game does is it reduces the sensitivity based on the scope. So if you have a 2x and your sensitivity is 10, basically what it'll do is when you put on a 4x now, it'll half your sensitivity. So you go from a 2x to a 4x and your sensitivity goes from 10 to 5 to compensate. So every time you double your scope, it'll actually half your sensitivity. So this is a really cool thing about PUBG then, is it just automatically does it for you. So you boot in the game and your sensitivities are basically good. Now Call of Duty Mobile isn't as gracious, so I had to do a little bit of fact finding and stats, and I had to check some things. All right, so this part gets pretty confusing, so I'm not going to get too in depth, but essentially all I did is I tested the sensitivities for the standard sensitivity, which is when you're not scoped in. I did it for the ADS sensitivity, the tac scope sensitivity, and the sniper sensitivity. And what I did is I messed with it until I got it so that all those sensitivities are the exact same. And when I say the sensitivity was all the same, I mean that the ADS, which is the red dot and hollow sight, the standard, which is not scoped in, the tac scope, which is the tac scope, and the sniper, which is just the default sniper scope, all of them, no matter how much I moved my finger, would move the same amount of distance in game. So to get all the sensitivities the exact same, what I did is I started with the standard sensitivity and I just put it at 10, which was just a baseline. I just put it there. There's no reason, just made it easy. And then I got ADS sensitivity was 31, and then the tactical scope and the sniper were both 53. So those were my scope sensitivities for them to be the exact same. So the next information that we actually needed to find was the zoom of each scope to actually figure out how much we had to reduce the sensitivity by. And we ended up measuring the tac scope, the sniper scope, and the red dot scope. And as I said before, red dot ADS, sniper sniper, and tac scope tac scope. And what we found out is that on 75 FOV, the red dot was 2.5 times zoom, the sniper was 11 times, and the tac scope was 3.2 times zoom. So referring back to what we learned about PUBG, the way that scopes feel the most comfortable is whatever way you increase your scope zoom, you decrease your sensitivity. So if you go from a 2x to a 4x, you decrease your sensitivity in half because you doubled it. So if you triple it, so if you go from 2x to a 6x, what you do is you do a third of your sensitivity and it'll match up. So basically you just divide what it is when it's all consistent by those numbers, and then there you go. Again, that might sound confusing, but here's what that looks like. Okay, so to wrap things up, I'm just going to show you guys a very quick tutorial on basically everything I just talked about, but condensed into about a minute. So here we go. So the very first thing you want to do before you even start this is go to settings, go to sensitivity, and then for your rotation mode at the very top, go to fixed speed. And basically what this is going to do is make your aim more consistent. If you have speed or distance acceleration on, your aim won't be as consistent. So definitely do fixed speed as your very first step. This is very important in the next part. All right, so the next thing you want to do is go ahead and load into a game. Personally, I did a private match between my phone and my iPad just so I'd be undisturbed. So basically what you want to do is when you load in the match, you want to try to do 180-degree turns. Now, if you're doing less than 180-degree turns, then go ahead and bump up your sensitivity. And if you're doing more than 180-degree turns, go ahead and lower your sensitivity. And when you do this, you want to be holding your device like you normally would be, so just a very comfortable position. And then just go ahead and swipe your aiming finger from one side to the other side, just like you can see in my hand cam. And then hopefully you'll find a number where you feel very comfortable and are able to easily do 180-degree turns. Personally, it was 70 for my iPhone XS Max. Then what you want to do is you want to take that sensitivity you found and you want to multiply it by 1.24. And then whatever number you get, you just want to round that number and put it in for your ADS sensitivity. Then for your tactical scope sensitivity, you want to take your standard sensitivity and multiply it by 1.65. Then obviously when you go in the game, you want to round that number and put it in as close as you can. Then for sniper sensitivity, what you want to do is take your standard sense and then multiply it by 0.48. And then obviously when you go in game, you want to round it. The next step is take all your camera sensitivities and then copy them over to your firing sensitivities so they are identical. Now, this will get all your sensitivities basically perfectly matched up so they all work very well. Now, one thing about this though is your sniper sense will be kind of low because it's designed to be very long distance. But if you're a quick scoper and not a hard scoper and you don't really camp and you want to quick scope people, I would recommend putting your sniper scope sensitivity up a little bit. So personally, I just went up like 6 points. All of these calculations were actually done on 75 FOV. If you guys are wondering where that setting is, it's showed on the screen right now. But if you want to make sure that these sensitivities work the best possible, make sure to use 75 FOV. I'll also be doing a whole separate video on FOV, so make sure to drop a sub if you guys want to see that video when it's actually released. Another thing as well is I would say give yourself about a week to kind of mess with the sensitivity and get it right where you want it. What I just showed you is going to be a good baseline, so a good place to start. But obviously if you feel like something is too low or too high, you can customize it. But I would say after about a week is when you want to kind of commit to the sensitivity so you can build a lot of muscle memory and really get that nice shroud-like aim where it's just, you're just so used to the game and your fingers are so used to your sensitivities that your aim will improve a ton as you play. Also, in terms of the gyroscope sensitivity, gyroscope is basically if you move your phone, your in-game character will move also. This is a very advanced mechanic, and I plan on making a video on it later because this is something, there's a lot of tips that can go into doing this, and I'm going to try to help you guys out later with that. But for now, I wouldn't mess with that until you're committed to gyroscope, in which I would start Googling how to use that. But for now, you don't have to touch it. Doesn't matter. As long as you don't have gyroscope on, that won't be affected. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to drop a like and a sub if you did. Honestly means a ton. I'm going to be coming out with more videos, including a controls video, which might even be out by the time this video is out. So make sure to check the channel for that. I also will be streaming on Twitch or YouTube. I don't know for sure yet. But all the links will be down below in the description if you guys want to check that out. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.